Alaji, let me take you to this space. How do you think the Obi phenomenon impacted on your voter base? Because that Obi space, it took a lot from traditional voting patterns, but how do you think it impacted on your voting patterns on your base?
Yeah, certainly it had impacted on all the political parties, not just the SGP. You know, the thinking of the Obi movement and then some of the backers of the Obi movement, like the former President Obasanjo and so on and so forth, you know, and then an attempt to mobilize the youth, to come on board, uh, have done a lot of distortions on the political equation of the country. But we know that it's a long way to go, knowing the history of the country, peculiarities, and so on and so forth. Uh, it's one of the a party that we had an interface thinking of possibly of working together before, but it couldn't work out, because of the factors I've narrated before. But I think clearly revolution is ensuing. People are coming out of their sickness. People are understanding that a religious factor will not all go well for this country. Regional factor will not all go well for this country. Ethnic factor will not all go well for this country, because Nigeria have what it takes to make the country great. Those who campaign along the lines of ethnic and religious issues, will soon understand that it's not the best that can happen to the country. This is a country that is so vast and have surplus of some of the best you can think of in every state of the federation. Nigerians are some of the best in the world. They excel anywhere they are. So the critical marks is for us to talk to ourselves and tell ourselves the bitter truth with the factor of Peter Obi and then the emerging SDP that is coming on board with the elected members. What can we do to synergize? What can we do to change the narrative and come together as a major force, that can change this primitive way of doing things? Again, it depends on the mindset of both the key players on both sides, to believe that we need to fashion in a new system that will give Nigerians hope, because so many things have went wrong and so many things are going wrong. So the thinking behavior needs to shift from individualism to collectivism. I think this is the only way we can solve it. But certainly, in terms of affecting the vote of all the parties, it has affected the entire parties. Every party struggled to survive during the election. All the parties, especially the party that have some substance, the leading party, the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party itself, the SGP, the YPP that have one senator, the NMPP that have two senators and members and some House of Reps as well. So you can see that it's about 6-7 parties that have made some major impact. Now, if we are to shift our thinking towards a prosperous way of uniting the political space, it is possible you can displace those big parties that are creating problems for the country.
So yes, I think you're essentially talking about a coalition of other parties outside of the main two, and that is a narrative that a lot of people have been talking about. That for us to have an opportunity to shift these people, we have to have a convergence of a coalition of the willing, as you are just describing now. But do you think the Obi phenomenon has to be removed from that narrative? Because nested within that phenomenon, you have the NSAS group, you have the disgruntled youth, you have the disenfranchised who coalesced under that narrative. So do you think those sort of pockets of disquiet, do you think they have to be through narrative wind away from that Obi phenomenon, which has run its course now because the election has come and gone? Do you think you have to find a language to bring them under another umbrella where you can then overarch a more palatable narrative? Do you get what I mean?
Yes, I do. It's possible because I've led a revolution before, in my state where we uprooted PDP completely. We brought in Governor Issa Yuguda as the governor of Bauchi State. I was one of those who led that revolution. It is very possible. If you look at the answers factor, and we look at the poverty index right now that is creating crisis and violence and insecurity all over the country, they are all interrelated. If you look at the level of unemployment, is extremely very high. The poverty level is so visible, is so touchable. And with this current situation that happened in the last 2 days, removal of first subsidy, virtually everything have jumped to almost 300%. Now, if you are not careful and if you don't have the language that it takes to bring these young people together, you are likely to face an anarchy, because people that have no food to eat, have no job, have nothing. You must develop a content that will bring them, or will accommodate that large chunk of the society. We have SEM in our party. We have part of NSAS with us that have worked with us, that are members of our party. All different youth groups are working with us. The students' unions are working with us. We have all the videos, evidence. They visited us. We have a lot of discussions with them. And right now, we are engaging a lot of them, including the NGOs. We have a department of NGOs headed by one of the very strong NGO personality. So we have diversified the process. We have opened the process more. We are now trying to strengthen our diaspora, relationship and interface. We understand where the problems are, but again, all these things require a lot of logistics to deal with. In virtually everything that you are going to do, you need to mobilize people that will do it. But we will continue to do our very best. Given our generation, me and you, we have no reason to fail. We have seen developed society, we have seen infrastructure, and it's the reason why you are contributing from where you are right now, to give your own very strong support base, to see that our society is well behaved, well organized, rule of law prevail, and so on and so forth. So I believe we have no reason to fail. If we can work together, we can reason together, we can fashion out a process that will give all Nigerians a sense of belonging. I have no doubt in my mind, after the whatever the outcome of the cases in the court, I believe the next election will be a different election entirely. There's a shift between the last election and this election, and there will be a major shift in the next coming election, because what we are likely to face will be a more difficult process to handle than the last election.
Right. You were talking about recalibrating the party, which you necessarily must. But are you, in all of this strategizing that you're doing, are you strategizing social media into your strategies for the future? Because of course we saw how that impacted on this now cycle. So do you have a social media strategy by way of expanding your philosophy, your ideology, and your plans for the Nigerian state and the Nigerian people? So do you have a social media strategy, and do you think it is necessary as part of your armament in politics?
Absolutely. It's absolutely very necessary. It's very key. Our social media department is very strong. We have very agile, very active social media department. And then it might interest you to know, like I've mentioned before, that we have a studio, that sent out all our